Well, time has arrived. I would call the International Falls Koochian County Airport Commission meeting for November 25th to order and ask if there's anyone that has public comment this time. If not, I would we would move to the minutes of the October 28th, 2015 meeting.
We'll move on to minutes, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Pavlik,
I will second the very detailed, well done minutes.
second by Commissioner Nevenin to approve the minutes of October 28th. Discussion on the motion of the minutes. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried and minutes are approved. Thank you. We'll go to the financial statement. And we have unpaid claims of $55,893.61. The largest of those is the second page, the Short Alley Henderson payment of $32,440. And we have balance sheet. Profit and loss. And on the very last page, is that the ones that were paid? Those have been paid already. That's the Bremer card and the Hallibright claims, $864.88.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
question on the balance sheet. The, under accounts receivable, the leases receivable, Kyra, is that 34,000? Is that for the terminal? PSA, is that what we're?
Well, that would be TSA, that would be the the airline rental. And I assume it's all of our stands, or
Yeah.
taxi stands, and
The TSA amount, is that still going back a few years? Is that?
Yeah, the TSA is not included in this amount.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No,
Because
This is
we
just,
still have
this
an
is what's
outstanding-
been received.
Oh, okay.
we still have an outstanding amount coming from them.
Yes, and I'll touch on that.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
all right. Motion would be in order then to approve the financial statement. Motion by Commissioner Briggs.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McBride. Discussion or further discussion with regard to the financial statement or the unpaid claims?
Mr. Chair.
Please.
The SDH bills, those are for services rendered, normal engineering.
Yeah, I think that would be our project.
We have projects in,
So big, that's probably why they're not here today.
Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, the chair would call the question. All those in favor of approving the unpaid claims and the financial statement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried and financial statement and claims are approved. Thank you. Go to the airport attorney. Steve, want
Thank you, Mr.
to
Chair.
come and join us? Thank you, please.
A number of things. First of all, with regard to the NOAA contract for the weather station, we'll break that into two so that we have one agreement with regard to the large area where the equipment is, and a separate lease on inside the building. Don't specifically know what the new dynamics are going to be, so we're just going to kind of handle that as it comes. I talked with Bob, and we thought breaking it 50-50, $500 for the outside area and $500 for the office space seemed reasonable. One thing we didn't, I talked with Kyra and Paul about this. We're talking, they want to do a real long term, like 20 years. So in our past agreements, we haven't had any increases in there, but I think we ought to put a cost of living adjustment and it would just be, at the end of every year. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has come out, with this figure, a couple months after the year's ended, so, we could set it for $500 for each one for 2016, and then 2017 would be just determined, we take the cost of living increase and apply to that 500, we'll just do that every year, because otherwise they can get really out of whack. We haven't had a lot of cost of living adjustments recently. Actually, 3 of the last 7 years have been 0. But you go back, in 1980 it was 14.3%, and 81, 11.2%. And so if something changed with the economy and we get caught in that, we could really be getting whacked on falling behind on our rent. So
Very good advice. So you'll
if that's the feeling of the commission, I'll go ahead and negotiate. And I'm sure they'll have no problems with that, because I think most of their contracts probably have similar kind of language.
Do they pay any utilities as part of their,
No.
And how much time is there physically somebody upstairs in that office? Is it?
Very rare,
Okay.
hour a day total.
And that's a contractor with the NOAA
That is correct.
that is utilizing that space up there.
That's our old boardroom.
Yep, exactly. Well, actually, TSA is using the old boardroom. They're still
They're in that
using-
room next.
They're still
next
using the
door.
initial Weather Bureau space.
When they had a full staff up there.
Correct.
I guess maybe for a question for Steve or Thor, any indication how long they're going to continue these balloon launches?
They haven't said anything to me.
No, it's interesting. It's still the best technology they have.
Really?
It really is. It's fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
It's
I always
very
wondered
helpful
if there was
too.
something else going to take and
Yep.
replace having those balloon launches.
They
Satellites or something else.
Yep, and they plugged that technology into that whole equation, and they decided, no, it's too valuable. So, interesting, yeah.
Better not wander into Turkey.
Better not.
How long have they been launching balloons there since?
I can
So
remember
it's gotta be
being
in the
in
50s.
grade school, so.
I'd say in the 50s,
I'd say
yeah.
at least over 50 years ago.
Max the Line was here when.
55,
Yeah, that's absolutely fact.
A long time ago.
Because we used to always go there and, get the stuff. And
Yeah, we did
do the bubble thing.
It's pretty neat.
Okay, so I will negotiate that with Chris Townsend and working with Bob Fitzgerald on the Kraus Anderson contract. Hope to have something wrapped up soon on that. And we got the hangar release done for the Doyle Family Trust. They put it into a family trust now in terms of their hangar out there. I think we finally got everything straightened out on the numbering of the hangar. We had a diagram that had everything backwards. So, we had some leases floating around out there with the wrong hangar number. I think we got that correct.
Wonderful.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good morning, Sean and Benita.
Yeah, we just paid your bill too, so we couldn't ask any questions.
Sorry, we're a little late.
We saw you waiting out there.
Yeah, I'm lurking, so you're done.
Well, we would be pleased to have you come forth and talk about the, I guess, the CIP, and I don't know if you have anything further on.
Well, I have Bob, if you don't mind giving him a call, and he would give you the update on the terminal.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab his phone number here for you. We're supposed to call his cell.
How was the weather coming up?
It was actually really nice.
It was?
Yeah.
Smooth?
The forecast was all doom and gloom yesterday. I was a little worried about getting in, but.
You kept talking about
5
rain or
forecast
snow up
right now.
here.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're gonna get any snow now today. Might change tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, it was nice.
Down in the cities, we're supposed to get a little bit of snow starting tomorrow.
Are you ready?
What is the flight time?
Yep, go ahead.
612
It kind of depends on about an hour and 10 minutes.
859.
What about St. Cloud?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a bad flight at all.
Good morning. I'm gonna put you on speaker. Wait, Bob, I'm gonna get you on speaker for any reason, Phil will call you in. You still with us?
I'm still there.
So now we have to quit talking about you, huh?
That's right.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Bob? It's Benita.
Yeah.
I think we'll just get started with your terminal update, and you can hang around as long as you like, but maybe that would be a good place to start.
Okay. Are you ready for me right now?
Go
Yep.
forth, yes, please.
Okay. All right, Bob, I just have a general question for you before we start. That question that came through from MMD regarding the bonding for phase 2. And I responded and sent it back to you, but I wasn't sure if it got to MMD.
It did not. In fact, I got I thought I had forwarded it to Alicia at Minnesota Management and Budget, but obviously my working off my phone didn't do it. So I plan to send that to her today.
Okay, very good. So you had a few things on your mind there, Bob. So.
Yep.
All right, as long as you'll take care of that.
So maybe
good.
just to bring everybody up to date, Bob, Minnesota Management and Budget had asked for an update on the projected expenses for the terminal project because they wanted to be sure that the monies that we're asking for in the 2016 bonding bill that matches out and has got federal participation and local participation.
That's right. Okay, and then an update on the terminal. We've been meeting every Monday, having team meetings every Monday. 60% plan sets are due at the end of the day today, and those plan sets will then go to Kraus Anderson. And Kraus Anderson is going to give us revised cost estimates based on those plans. And we should have those in 10 working days, so 2 weeks. We are still on schedule for 90% plans by December 11th. And once we get to December 11th with the 90% plans, they will then be forwarded to the FAA for their 30-day working review. Actually, they're calling for 45 days, but it's actually 30 working days. The pre-application, Benita has a couple cover sheets for you to sign, Bob. That is for the pre-application for the 2016 project. That is due to MnDOT by December 1st, and then we'll be forwarding that, or MnDOT will be forwarding that to the FAA on December 15th. And the projects on the pre-application, just to remind everybody, are the terminal project phase 1. We've got some pavement rehab. What's the other one, Benita?
The passenger loading bridge?
Passenger loading bridge, which we're separating out from the terminal, just because that will follow in the following year, and we can apply that as an alternate, and it'll be at 95% participation rate. And then the commercial apron, the commercial air service apron expansion, which is probably a good segue into the commercial apron. So Benita did bring along, or I sent along with her, a few graphics so she could hand those out to everybody. And what we did with that, I've been working with Thor to determine the actual size that's needed there. And there is a line on there that's labeled the COFA, which is the taxiway object free area. And that will be for the aircraft, the CRJ 700. When it pulls up to the new jet bridge and makes its turn back to the taxiway. And that one is not shown on there, but that's that COFA line in red. If you could point that out.
Yeah.
And so then I did talk with Thor, he said on occasion, the aircraft is also, there's two aircraft on the ground at the same time. One is parked to the plan east. And that's what you see in that location. So we're showing the CRJ 700 coming through, hitting, stopping at the bridge, and then proceeding to plan east. And then that would park in that location and then power out and head back towards the apron. So that brings us right up to the edge of the road of the NOAA building. And so initially we were looking at doing an apron expansion all the way over to that road. However, in the pre-application package, we have to do a categorical exclusion checklist. And when we, Casey Nowicki took a look at it, and we did just an aerial review of that area, and it appears there is a wetland.
Surprise.
Benita, if you could point out where the wetland is on there.
Yeah, there's a ditch that goes underneath that road that leads to the weather station, and it's kind of actually right where that aircraft is depicted on the drawing. There's something there that we'll have to take a look at.
So our plan is to, well, we've been busy working on the terminal plans, but we haven't revised this drawing yet. But it's to turn the aircraft sharper so that it avoids that wetland, which means we would have we're proposing to have a wider apron closer to the terminal, which would then turn back towards the apron and wouldn't be the full length and width out to the taxiway. If Benita did an initial estimate on that, but that was at the full length, and Benita, maybe you want to discuss the estimate of the cost.
Yeah, and the original one, I think we had $850,000 for, I believe it was an 80-foot expansion, and then once we did the auto turn movements, I think we're at a 200-foot expansion. So basically, we looked at it as about $1.8 million for the 200-foot expansion, and that's full length all the way down to the taxiway. So if there's some modifications to that to avoid the wetland, obviously we'll go down in cost, but that's where we're at right now between the two alternatives.
And so if we propose to impact the wetland, of course, then we'd have to do an environmental assessment. So our idea at this point is to propose avoiding that wetland so that we could do a categorical exclusion checklist and then put that into the CIP for this coming year.
One clarification on that. You can't impact the wetland without triggering the EA if it's less than, and I don't remember exactly that area, and we think this would be less. So I don't think, Bob, it would trigger an EA. I think we could still get a Cat X for it. The issue is that we can't delineate right now. So we don't know exactly what those impacts are, and in order for the FAA to evaluate if that is beyond that threshold or not, we need the delineation. So there's some unknowns here that we have to work through.
Say, Bob.
I'm wondering that.
Sure.
Please, go ahead.
Bob, Brian Briggs here. Have you been in contact with DGS or Delta on that parking plan? Because our supervisor has indicated to us as employees out there that they were planning on bringing the plane straight in, and that we would have a tow vehicle and we'd be pushing it back out.
I have not. The communication has all been through Thor.
And if I may, and I appreciate that, and I've had discussions with the DGF folks on that, with your boss, what's his name? Thank you. And it's a combination of I'm concerned about that proposal, and not that we're talking about snowmobile, but we are about snow storage. As you notice, we're not putting snow onto this area now. We have to let this freeze, and as time goes on, we obviously we store all of our snow here for this whole ramp area gets windrowed to this end. So it's still very concerning for me.
Well, as an employee, we'd rather see this plan here.
Absolutely.
and have to have a tow vehicle.
Yeah,
That's
that
require a
doesn't-
whole bunch more training for us.
It doesn't
And
go
then
well
the issues with the
insurance-wise.
tow truck and hooking up,
Absolutely.
and pushing
Storage.
back. Am I right?
Storage, yeah, it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Commissioner Pavlik.
That picture right there is our last battle with wetlands, and that's the highest point on the airport. So we're,
I guess the question, Bob, and maybe this is also for Thor, but this ditch, is it part of the navigable waters of the U.S.? I mean, can somebody navigate on there?
To be determined, I don't think so, no.
waters of the U.S. is on
Well,
hold.
this fall you probably could.
But Bob, here's the thing. Cooching County, you know, we outlasted everybody and refused to adopt the Wetland Act, and way back then, and as a result, we got an exemption for the 80% or greater counties, which is 10,000 feet if we're 1,000 feet or more from a water body.
So 10,000 feet is the
10,000
okay.
square foot exemption. So I mean, would that be enough?
And I think we're gonna be very close right there.
All right.
The problem or the concern, I guess, that we have is that the FAA, in order to provide funding as part of this pre-application, we have to have the CADX. So we have to have the request for a categorical exclusion, which makes not having delineations there a little bit trickier. They could probably take a look at some aerials and do some mapping to kind of guess as to what that is, but then we would have to rely on the FAA to give us the CADX based on that, which they sometimes aren't comfortable doing.
And what we could do is proceed. We could proceed that we're going to propose that entire apron. Remember, we still have to get through eligibility requirements. There is some question if FAA believes that is an eligible item. So we have to get through that, and we could continue to propose the full size of it and submit the categorical exclusion and do the work there and see where it goes. We do have the pre-application is due December 1st, but the actual application, I believe, if I have my dates correct, is July.
Commissioner Nevin.
Just back to Thor's issue concerning operations and snow removal. Thor, given this layout, where would you see, I mean, you're kind of stuck right here then with snow?
Yeah, and ideally, what Bob and Vinny are discussing there is I'm not sure the 200 feet was the number. That would be adequate.
Okay.
If we could add that to the area. I like what Bob is saying about do you run up the flagpole and see what happens? I mean, do you? It's imperative.
I assume we're going to have to deal with the FAA somewhere, and I just hope that they're not going to the Army Corps for their
Right. Well,
guidance.
and our approach right now is with the pre-application, we are going to submit the request for categorical exclusion. We're going to hope that they look at this, they can do some aerial mapping to see that it's a small wetland, and we can move forward with the CADX. So that's our approach. Of course, it's up to the FAA and how they interpret that and what they come back with.
So,
And do we have, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
no?
I was just wondering, do we have anything that says the 10,000 foot exemption?
That's where I was going to. What can we get from the county?
Service.
Yeah, we'll have to get Dale Olson.
Get to Dale.
Supply that.
And his.
So if we have that, we'll submit that with the categorical exclusion.
Because when we did that project, when we were all much younger, we didn't have that.
That's right.
We didn't have that option, so we should still be good for 10,000.
Commissioner McBride.
And I think that is only available one time per property? It's not per project, correct?
Well, yeah, that's got some flexibility too, because this is bigger than one property. Yeah, so it's Dale's the one that can. Actually, we can invite him down if
You want to go to see if it's available?
you're. Quick update.
Let me run down.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to you.
Sure, no, that's fine. If it's helpful to get some answers here and direction, I think that's
'Cause
what we need.
If we can get some information on that specific regulation for Kuchishing, we can include that in the CADX, which could be helpful in the request for the CADX.
And
I do have one other thing on that area. If you guys remember back several months now, we were working on a revised lease with NOAA.
yes,
And So there was a much larger area that they have been leasing, and if my memory serves me correctly, it was about 3 acres. And it did extend into there was an access road that extended into the existing commercial service apron. And then we submitted some revised drawings that would just show that them going along the current access road and just a footprint right around their building. Do we know, or do you guys know where that is right now?
Well, the fact is, just before you got on the telephone here, the airport attorney, Steve Shermone, was here, and he's in the process of negotiating, and he did not mention a decrease in the size of the area that we are going to lease to NOAA. So maybe you need to make a call to Steve Shermone just to make sure that we're everybody's talking to everyone here with regard to that detail. So do you have Steve's number?
I don't. Can you give that to me?
Kyra will send it to you.
Okay.
Harry, do you have a copy of the lease, with the proposed lease?
I do not have.
Okay.
So yeah, if you would clear that up with the attorney, because he's negotiating, and we're splitting the lease into 2 pieces: one for the area inside the terminal, and one for the area where the launching tower is. And so, and I don't know how much area that they need, but I think you've got it down, and hopefully they see the value of still having that even a smaller lease yet. Commissioner Pavlik.
But just, the timing is critical. They pulled the waters of the U.S. and Congress very divided on that issue, and rightly so. One of the reasons you probably see the election looking the way it does right now, people are fed up, and this is a good example. But having said that, once that comes back, there's not a doubt in my mind that they would certainly argue that there's a nexus. And this, we use navigable water, they're trying to change that to any water.
Right.
And that's the problem. So timing is critical. Dale's not here yet. Hopefully he'll get here before we end the meeting, but otherwise, certainly you could contact him. He is our...
Oh, sure, yeah, we worked with Dale before.
Yeah, he's
so
our
we can do
expert
that.
on this.
Yep.
If I may.
Please, Thor.
I wonder also that the 10,000 square foot exemption, does that have to be one project, or that can be added on to a project?
Well, the way we set it up and argued it at the time was you can't build a house in that driveway. That's 10,000 feet sounds like a lot. It's a house in a driveway out here in the country where everything is wetland. So that's what we based it on. But those are parcels that have been divided up. So when I look at something like the airport, I just wonder, if we couldn't get creative and separate a piece of property here. There may be ways around that. Dale's the one that can answer that.
All right. Further, Bob.
I think that's it. I think that's it for me.
Very good. I did have an opportunity on this, maybe on the subject. While I was in Rochester, I had the opportunity to have breakfast with the state senator Senjum, who was on the bonding committee. So got an opportunity to plug a little more for our project. So just to let you know that.
Good.
Just have one more question.
Sure.
Getting back, Thor and Brian, to your points, is this going to fit your needs? I guess that's do well. Okay.
Gotta do this right.
He was surprised how sharp a turn that CRJ can make.
Oh, okay.
Even the 737 we had in the other night for Sun Country, I think will turn out pretty sharp too.
This expansion on Dunedin that's 200 feet?
Yeah, it's
And it
200
should-
feet, yep.
And it really did that much for that plane to make that turn?
Because of the parking of their aircraft there also, and snow removal storage.
I needed
So you still
200 feet.
have to use part of that as snow. Oh, to get definitive.
So the model there actually shows the aircraft going if it needed maintenance or if it had to be overnight. It's actually showing that first graphic where you see it kind of pointing to the north, I guess east it would be. That's where it would park if it needed service. And then the modeling shows can it still power out and get out from there. So, there's a little bit of flexibility there. If we didn't need to park it that far to the north, you might be able to trim it down a little bit. But this is, I think, a reasonable operation for that particular aircraft.
Because right now we have a second airplane in that parks north. Where the one is facing east, we move it over. Even some of your aircraft that come in and we end up parking them there, or parking north. And then we turn them to the west.
Right.
And you can have I was just going to say, you can have an aircraft right there at the passenger loading bridge at the same time.
So you're not backing anyone out?
No, but we would have to, if we went with the design, we'll have to be careful there for a year, whatever the time frame is sequentially in the projects. Because this, in essence, correct me if I'm wrong, we're close to, if we are successful with the cement, with the apron extension, that'll be about the same distance of ramp we have now.
Yep,
on the
comparable.
east end. Very, yeah, so that's what you need. It's
Well,
proven.
and now, what you have noted here is the CRJ 700, that's gonna be the new 75 passenger?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that's correct, right, Bob? Yep.
And that's a longer plane than,
It's about the same size, Bob. I mean, width-wise, it might be a little longer, yeah.
That's what it is.
But the wingspan is just outside of the CRJ 200.
well, I know those airplane companies are creative, but it just, right now you got 50 passengers in that space, you're gonna put 75 in the same space? I mean, that.
Yeah.
Brian's gonna need a shoehorn to get him in there.
Yeah. And, that does not, what we're showing there is not for any charter operations. That is specifically for your scheduled air service.
Very good. Oh, here comes Dale Olson in.
Yes, sir.
All right. Here's the man of the hour.
Always. Have a seat, Dale.
Had some furnace trouble this morning.
Oh.
We told him
Warm, it's good.
Fortunately, this El Nino is keeping things warm.
Yeah, that's a good one there.
We told him you're the
For
smartest
sure.
person in Coochink.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you one up this much.
Maybe you can show him the map there, and Dale, there's a small little ditch that runs alongside what's gonna be this new terminal building. And
Okay.
the question becomes the 10,000 square foot
Exemption.
exemption?
Yeah.
Okay.
This will be an expansion of the.
Bob, maybe you wanna,
Okay.
you wanna say something to Dale with regard to what you're thinking here? Because you're gonna be making a request for a categorical exclusion?
Right, yeah, Dale, we need to, with the map there, we're proposing to extend the apron all the way over to the NOAA access road
Yeah, okay.
and all the way from the terminal building to the taxiway. So that whole area is proposed to be new apron. There is a small area of wetland closer to taxiway that we would then propose to fill. But it's been brought to our attention that there's a 10,000-foot wetland exclusion for the airport or for Coochin County.
Yeah, usually that's per project type thing. Yeah.
Okay, so what we have to do is submit the categorical exclusion checklist to the FAA with this project. And what we'd like to do is attach that 10,000-foot wetland exclusion to it. And I'm not sure, would it apply to this type of project?
Yeah, it probably would. I could look at WAC a little bit more. Have you talked, in the Army Corps doesn't have a 10,000 foot, they're more than that, so I think they're about a half acre. We should be clear on them, but we'd still do an exemption application and send it to both the Corps and Bowser.
I was under the impression that it was something that the airport has done in the past, and it's specifically for the airport. Did I hear that wrong?
I'd have to look back
No,
at
this
that.
is for any project in the county on any properties.
Right. Right.
Okay.
It's an exemption for the counties with 80% or more of their original wetlands. I think a total, I think there were 8 of us, 8 or 11, I can't remember. But obviously, we've got the most.
And is this a statute or
Yeah, it's in the wetland rules, yep,
for Minnesota?
for Minnesota.
They're all north of Highway 2. They couldn't give it, we held out, they couldn't give it to just Cooch, so they had to come up, be creative, that it worked for all the counties with all these wetlands, and that's how we got it.
So it's nothing that the county holds, it's actually a statute.
Yes.
Okay. Do you happen to know the statute number?
Well, it's in the WACA rule
Rules.
book, in the wetland rule book.
Known as the WACO rule book.
Yeah, the WACO rule book. I can send that information to you.
It gives
Okay,
us, it gives us,
great.
gives us the authority to do it, but we've got to go, as Dale pointed out, we've got to work with our Army Corps and Moser on this, so they get it approved.
And Dale, have we used this fairly regular basis?
Oh, yeah, a lot. There's almost every private person who comes in wants to build a road or something like that, we get the exemption.
We've had to fight to hang on to it because other counties feel, hey, and then you get out in the Twin Cities area, they just never believed in having an exemption anyways.
Right, they don't want anything exempt. They wanted to save every drop of water.
So nothing's ever forever, I mean, we can change.
So has this been measured? Is it under 10,000 for sure?
No, we don't know. It kind of came up this fall, and we missed our window for a delineation.
Okay.
So we would, at this point, we would submit the CADX based on aerial interpretation of the area and
Yeah.
see if that, in combination with whatever your exemption is, maybe we can still get the CADX through the FAA.
And
Okay.
Dave, if I could, and Dale, we were talking about trying to expedite this process because if the waters of the U.S. comes back, it's going to override everything we're doing here, and because it looked like it was some sort of ditch, my guess is they're trying to say there's a nexus.
Right.
So timing's kind of critical.
So if you can, I guess we can get Bob's number to Dale and he can send
Bob
out.
Yeah,
Bohr?
Bob Bohr,
Bob
yep.
Bohr, yeah.
We have
I
all your
should have it.
contact
Oh, you
information.
should have it, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, if you could get that to Bob, then he can take and continue to move forward with this categorical exclusion.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. We can get out there and take a look and estimate the footage too. I mean, if it's way under 10,000, there shouldn't be a problem.
Can you do that this time of year?
Well, it's tough if it's if we're dependent on vegetation, but if it's just a low area and just a ditch, we could
Okay.
probably do that. Yeah.
And basically, it's in the area between the apron and that National Weather Service access road. So it's all on
Okay.
this direction, as you saw.
Dale's only 23, that's what happens to people.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, so
very
I can take
helpful.
that.
Thank you. All right, you're kind of worried where that ditch is at? No, exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll get a hold of Eric Olson and we'll get out there and take a look at it and see what we can figure out there. And then I'll
Very
send
nice.
some
Thank you,
information,
Dale.
That sounds great.
application to Bob. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Dale.
very much.
Good luck with the furnace.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, further, Bob.
Nothing else for me at this time.
All right, let's go to Benita.
Okay, and so on Kyra's desk, I just left her 2 sheets, Bob. They're the top page of the pre-application. Sean's been working on these. There's what, 15, 20 pages that are.
For the document that
It's-
CFA requires.
So we're just giving, it's for the pre-application to start the grant process.
Okay.
So what we've included in there, there's actually 2 versions of that sheet. One includes the terminal, the pavement rehab, and the passenger loading bridge, just in case we ran into any issues with the apron. The other sheet includes all 4 projects. So I'll have you sign both, just in case we get some feedback from Tracy that, for whatever reason, we can't go forward with the apron, but we'll have you sign both. And basically, we take that with all the other information, which is checklists, environmental documentation.
Just summary justification for the project, your supporting documentation, environmental reviews, project sketches,
Yeah.
random FA forms, DOT forms.
It's the first step to initiate the grant application, and it's due to MnDOT on December 1st. So we just need your signature today. We'll take care of the rest of it for you.
Very good.
So Kyra has both those. And then maybe we'll jump to the CIP, and I
Yes.
can just kind of do some highlights.
Capital Improvement Program?
Capital Improvement Program. So when we were up here last month, we basically had a long discussion about all the projects that we're going to do, and not just in the first 5 years, which we normally do, but actually looking at a larger 20-year planning period that MnDOT is looking for. So I'll just highlight some things. You know, obviously the first 2 years, which is, if you look under there, that's 2017 and 2018. In parentheses, it says FFY 2016. That's just federal fiscal year 2016. The MnDOT program doesn't play nice with the different fiscal years that we're dealing with, so that's our way of showing that that's a federal 2016 job, even though it's listed under 2017. So just some highlights as we work through this, and please stop me if you've got any questions. But 2017, the focus is basically on the things we just talked about, the apron, the pavement rehab that we do, the terminal building, and the passenger loading bridge. 2018, we get, one other comment about those. We do show the entitlement transfer coming back from Grand Rapids, so we identify that in 2017, and we do the same in 2018 for Bemidji. We're just tracking that. It's not a project, but we want to make sure that that's in there so everybody knows you'll be getting those dollars back. So then 2018 is the continuation of the terminal as phase 2, and then the pavement rehab. 2019, and you'll see that the pavement rehab is consistently through there, so through these years, so I'll leave that off right now. But 2019, we have the ARF vehicle back in there at the higher cost though, assuming that the regulations change, so at that point we can get back to the vehicle that you would prefer. 2020 actually initiates the runway reconstruction project by doing the engineer's design report together with the final design. And you'll also notice in here, I use my discretion, Thor, to take a look at your existing snow removal equipment.
Yes.
And when the earliest year we can replace it, assuming when that 10-year time frame. So scattered throughout the CIP, you'll see replacement of applicable snow removal equipment pieces. So you see that in 2020 with the pickup and plow. So in 2021 through 2023 is what we're shooting for with a 3-phase runway reconstruction project. What we'd probably do is do one end, the other end, keep everything active during that whole time by using the displaced threshold, and then there'll be one phase where we'll have to shut the whole runway down, and we'll work through that. A lot of that gets vetted out of the engineer's design report. That's a federal requirement now, so basically any eligibility issues, any phasing issues, all that stuff gets vetted out when you do the design report.
And these amounts in that period would require discretionary funds?
Correct.
Because we would not be eligible for that kind of dollars?
Not at all, not at all. So we would go after discretionary, and it's good that they're in there right now, because in our conversations with the FAA recently, they're looking out that far and trying to identify projects that are going to require the funding. So showing this on your CIP, even though we're looking at 5, 6, 7 years from now, it's still a good thing to have that on there because they start paying attention to that. So then 2024, we basically initiate the taxiway project. So we're doing an engineer's design report for that, together with final design plans and specs. And then in 25 and 26, a 2-phased parallel taxiway reconstruction project. 2027, now we're focusing on the apron. And if you think about that, we did that initial reconstruction back in 2004, I believe. So, we're looking at 15 to 20 years now when we get to that point again, which is probably a realistic schedule, at least for the bituminous portion of it. The concrete, we might have a little bit more time. But that begins in 2027 and the reconstruction in 2028. 2029, we're looking at kind of a year off, focus on some SRE that will be due at that point, blower and a plow sander replacement. And then from then on, we just have pavement rehab at this point. At that point in time, we would have your taxiway reconstructed, your runway reconstructed, your apron reconstructed. 422 would be another option, but I didn't have that in there right now just because we probably want to evaluate the use. One other thing about 422 is if you have adequate wind coverage using 1331, which is 95%, eligibility comes into play for that. The FAA, if you don't need the crosswind, sometimes they don't participate in it. So there's some things that we'll have to work out with that as we move forward. So really just the last page is just focused on pavement rehabilitation.
2037, we'll be at the nursing home watching the downwind.
So that's the CIP in a nutshell. If you guys have any questions or if we've missed anything, let us know.
That's long-range planning.
It is long-range planning. It's, and the idea behind that, and we might have mentioned this at the last meeting, but this is simply a request from MnDOT because they don't want to get into a situation where they don't show the need and the funding goes down. So we're showing the need for the next 20 years.
I think it's a great
Thank God.
report. I think really highlights where we need to go as a airport, as an asset in the city and the county, and so I think we've done a great job. Thank you to our friends at Short Elliott and Hendrickson and with the FAA because and
You had their
MnDOT,
support.
they were very supportive in putting all this together.
Definitely. So this is actually in MnDOT system. Unless there's any changes, you guys are good to go. You've accomplished by your November 27th deadline, which was what MnDOT established, so we're fine for the CIP until next year.
Did we adopt that at the last meeting, or do we need to adopt this one now? I think
You might want to adopt it now, simply
Yeah.
because there's probably some changes based on our discussions, so
Okay.
I would formally adopt it at this point.
And what, do we have a number or anything on this capital improvement program report? What should we,
It's stated, if you see down on the bottom corner, it's dated
Okay.
11/20.
all right?
I mean, we
so-
could use that date.
All right. So a motion would be in order then to adopt the capital improvement program report dated November 20, 2015. Motion by Commissioner Nevenen. Second by Commissioner Pavlik. Further questions or discussions with regard to the motion or the program? Hearing not, I would place the question before the commission. All those in favor of the motion to adopt the program report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried and the program report is adopted. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
Anita?
Yeah, you're welcome. That's it for me. If there's not any other questions, but I want to turn it over to Sean. He had the fortunate experience of being up here for the Part 139 inspection. I couldn't make it this year, so Sean spent the 2 days up here. He's got some updates on that and some accolades for Thor, I'm sure, and modification to a project that came out of it. So I'll turn it over to Sean.
Yeah, I consider it a privilege to be part of the 139 inspection.
Oh.
Quite the
Down
experience.
if you want.
Now, there's a military.
I've held that down on my therapy.
The inspection went really well.
This was November.
It was last Wednesday and Thursday.
And the new inspector?
It was a new inspector. It was actually his second inspection on his own. So right out of the gates, he did heavy and right before coming up here. He had 2 that week.
I bet it is somewhat similar to the military, though, isn't it?
It brought back memories of operational readiness inspections. Just going through every book in there. And, Benita has told me stories about what they are. And it was something else.
You didn't feed him walleye for lunch or anything, did you?
No, just chocolate. I did. He did tell me that it was the best he's been treated. So
very
compliments
nice.
to Thor for giving him.
I'm not sure. After doing this for 105 years, I'm not sure it was beneficial, but thank you.
He said everybody was really accommodating. He had all the documents. The things were really well laid out. He did say that everybody did a great job, and I think the quote was, "It's clear that everybody knows what they're doing." So I think that's.
Thank you.
Well, I think there was a couple issues out there. One, did he continue just to have a recommendation on the crash fire rescue equipment?
Yeah,
Is that just a
right.
recommendation?
We had that conversation in the meeting, and I shared with the gentleman's name is Patricio that had been discussions with his boss, and then they're aware of that. And that maybe can I segue into that right now? I played phone tag with VP at Oshkosh yesterday, and something happened, and I did not talk to him directly, talked to one of my staff, but something has happened in that index requirement. So my gut tells me that there's a hard push going back to that index A requirement.
Keeping that same type of
Correct.
vehicle. that we
Correct.
have
And
today.
I'm guessing, again.
And not going to some smaller
Correct.
pickup truck with a hose.
So I'm assuming next year's legislation, something will, I'm assuming something will change, I don't
Well, we
know.
can just contract the DNR.
There you go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're kind of your assessment.
Well, then we also had some tree removal that we needed to.
Yep, as part of the inspection, we certified the approaches as clear, so that was all fine. He went through, he did an airfield inspection, so we drove around with Thor's crew and everything looked good. Another portion was the crash fire rescue response, and Jake from Thor's crew did an outstanding job with that, so a big credit to him for that. And then-
Signage now, we didn't get the signage project complete yet this year, so it'll be next spring before that's done, and where is he on that?
It was actually, the timing could have been more perfect.
Fascinating.
Yeah, the recommendation, one of the recommendations that has come from this inspection is that they renumber the taxiway layouts for the airport. Typically, what has been always done in the past, and the FAA has supported, is having taxiway alpha. I can use this map over here. Taxiway alpha is your parallel taxiway, and on the ends it would be taxiway alpha 1-3 and taxiway alpha 3-1 end. The new guidance from the FAA is saying that that's not entirely clear. You know, if you're on taxiway alpha, they don't really know where you are. So what they want to see now is the connectors being numbered alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4, alpha 5, and alpha 6. So it's just kind of adding the numbers to the ends to, when you say you're at alpha 1, they know exactly where you are. So it's for uncontrolled fields like International Falls, you're given a distinct location. If you say you're on alpha, I mean, you could be anywhere and you could be holding short of the runway. And other aircraft, people wouldn't know that. So and the timing could have been better. Like I said, we are under contract to do the sign panel replacement or sign replacements for all of the signs on the airport, and they haven't been ordered yet. So I think the contractor was probably within a month or two of ordering all the sign panels. So what we're going to do with that recommendation is proceed with those changes, get approval from Patricio at the FAA, have them look at the sign plan, make sure everything looks good, work with the ADO, the local FAA people, and support any changes to that project to get it back in with that recommendation. So, like I said, great time.
And if I may, Sean and me were very helpful, and we got the certification on the free and clear zones for the tree and brush removal. So we used the skid steer, and it was essential to the project. We wouldn't have been able to get the certification, and Sean was very helpful in helping me with that project.
So we're going to be having these alphas numbered then on the field. That'll be part of the new signage.
Right. Yep. So all the signs on the end, it says alpha now. It'll say alpha 1. So it's going to be a little confusing, I think, probably for a year, because alpha 1 will be alpha 2.
Only for us.
Yeah. In all reality.
Well, and who changes the manuals for the pilots to reflect that?
And oddly enough, I just changed that about a month ago to show alpha on the end. It wasn't actually labeled on the instrument or the approach procedures. There was a gentleman that was in Thor's office that said, "Hey, the chart isn't correct here." So we changed that, and now we have to change it again. It's a simple form that you go through the FAA, and it'll take about 2 months to get updated. So once those signs are installed, we'll update the FAA charts that all the pilots will get. The Jeppesen charts follow with that. So.
And clarification, the sign bases and the mounts and the boxes will be in essence the same. So we're not, there's no groundwork per se.
And those aren't, that alpha, those wouldn't be lighted, would they?
Yes.
Oh, they are?
They're all lighted.
Okay.
Yep. And they're all lighted now.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
When you're in Minneapolis, you see them out the window, they will be going, but so they, just what you said, I'm sure, so they know they can be more.
Do we have wiring going along there that will take care of that?
Yeah, all the wiring is
It's all
intact.
active now.
Do we have an electrician who can handle it?
No.
That's a different story.
Ask Nevin. I'm sorry. Sorry.
So with that, I mean, the inspection, I think, went well, and we wrapped up in a day and a half, which was good. He wanted to drag it into Friday, and with a little bit of convincing, he finished up on Thursday, and that's when a little bit of snow came through, so he was on his way back to on Friday morning. So.
There was a certain discussion of how much actual snow accumulation was in the forecast and how much wind there was actually going to be, and how the blizzard light conditions would be dangerous driving between here and Duluth. If I recall that conversation. So he elected to the powers of persuasion.
Very good. Questions for Sean or Thor with regard to that Part 139 inspection? And when would the next one be then?
It'll be we keep trying to push it in earlier, and for some reason every season, every fall they're pushing it later into the fall. So sometime within 12 calendar months, anytime between now and
November
November of 2016.
If I may add, Patricio, the FAA inspector, was, I think, impressed by Thor's operation for removal, and his previous experience was in Alabama, so he hadn't had much experience with snow, and seeing how Thor was handling the removals and prepping up, and he had Jake and Jackson were getting ready for that, so I think he was appreciated that experience. I think just to see what an airport would go through to get ready for snow.
You too,
Just Commissioner Pavlik.
Just a comment, Bob and I, and poor I'm sure can remember, but I think a lot has to do with personalities of the people that come up here on these inspections.
Definitively.
And I can remember how we fought them over, we had all the stumps there along the runway, and it was absolutely dangerous. And they wouldn't give us the authority to remove. I mean, it's.
That was part of a wetlands issue.
Yeah, it was
if I
part of a
may.
wetlands issue.
That was fascinating. That's when we learned the power of wetland
Yes.
wetland law.
Yeah.
Was I'll think of the name of the gentleman momentarily, working for the FAA, and I remember standing there, literally asking him. I said, "So what you're saying is that the wetland issues are that's trumping, that human safety is trumping the stumps?" And he wouldn't answer the question. I said, "No, isn't that what you're saying?" And oh no, it's just the law. I said, "Well, okay, so." Yeah.
Well, it was so frustrating for us because we realized the danger. I mean, when aircraft were to skid off that runway, you're in those stumps. Who knows what fuel bladders being ruptured.
Dan Dillon.
But that's when they Dan Dillon, I remember. But anyway, sounds like it's going much better now. But those were frustrating days for us.
Commissioner Nevin.
Also, I had a chance to get out there pre-inspection, but your team was getting ready, and it's good for the local paper mill here. This is something that the general public doesn't see, the amount of paperwork to support an operation like this. It's unbelievable, the binders that we had.
Yeah,
all the documentation that's required, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's 22 or 24 binders, I can't remember. And you're cycling, you're constantly.
Got to be keeping your manuals up to date on all aspects of the operation.
PCA boys, you should send a letter of appreciation to the FAA. I'm telling you.
Good work.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sean. Thor.
Well, they obviously they thought Sean was a nice guy because they didn't want to.
Yeah, we played good cop, bad cop. That all worked out before the kid got there.
Further under engineering report.
That's all we have.
We've closed out then the pavement projects. That's all done.
Yeah, maybe Sean, you.
Yes, final payment was made, I believe.
Yep. Okay.
And just a question, I guess, for Kyra. Have you received reimbursement from MnDOT at all for any of those credit applications?
I submitted one in September and then one on the 3rd of November.
And we're seeing this at multiple airports, so you're not alone. The credit application process, I don't know if there's an issue with MnDOT, but it's also tied with the credit application for projects and also for the M&O funds. I believe you probably haven't received M&O money.
I haven't received
And
it.
they're 5 months into the year, so it's frustrating, I think, for a lot of communities that they haven't received funding. We don't know the answer of what's taking so long. I think we're just figuring out now. Contractors aren't getting paid. There's issues out there. If a question to Don Berry or the MnDOT representative, maybe in order just to find out what the story is. Like I said, we don't know. I wish I could tell you what the story is there, but.
Do they know who's got the checkbook?
I'm sorry?
Do they know in St. Paul who's got the checkbook?
Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating. There's a lot of small communities that can't.
Can't afford to carry that kind of debt load. Commissioner McBride.
It must be something the state government line, because I know people complain about their property tax refunds are 2 and 3 months behind them. They have contact. They said it might be another 2-3 months before they get them yet. So it's something going on.
They keep talking about having a surplus of money, and I don't know.
Well, that's why they have it. They're not giving
it. Trying to get some.
But there's something going on statewide.
Okay.
We this is just our opinion, so not certainly anything that we found out officially. But they went through, at least Aeronautics did, and I don't know if this extended to the DOT, statewide, but they went through an audit, and our understanding from the trickle of information we've received from some MnDOT reps at Aeronautics is they got their hands slapped quite a bit. So I think and I think typical fashion for something like this is now everything is going through a formal review. So I know the state grant agreements, and it'll probably happen with the M&O, they're going through like 7, 8 different signatures. So these things, instead of being a 1 or 2 signature process, they're going through several now based on the recommendations from that audit. And hopefully it'll get better, but I think we're gonna see significant delays for M&O, for Credit Act reimbursements, for any state grant. I think we're gonna see that for a while until we adjust to the new requirements.
All right, well, sorry I asked the question.
Yeah.
All right, further, the only other thing I would, well, we got 2 things there that we need to touch on. Bob, are you still with us? Oh, sounds like Bob might have left. I received a call from Karen Weller at Bemidji, and she was asking if we had more funds that we wanted to loan out. And I said I would bring it up here and talk with our folks, but I said we would not know until, when we open the bids, we'll know where we're going to be with regard to the project. But right now, I would not see us being in a position to loan anyone monies based on our CIP or AIP monies coming in.
And I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
You have a very full CIP for the next 10 years.
Yep. So I told her I didn't think that was going to be possible.
You should probably remind her that she needs to give you the money back too.
That's right. Yeah. She said that they'll be in a position to do that, but evidently they're borrowing ahead. I don't know.
What are you doing the next expansion?
I'm not sure what I didn't ask her what her projects were, but they wanted to have more. They had monies for the local match, but they didn't have the entitlement monies to do the projects that they want to do. So
I think there's
sure.
a lot of projects, if you talk about hangar development areas that don't rank high enough for apportionment dollars, they don't rank high enough for discretionary. You need to focus on trying to get all the entitlements that you can. And I think for, if they're shooting for like a hangar project or something like that, they can't rely on anything other than entitlements. So that's probably why they're reaching out and trying to borrow as much as they can.
The second item, and that's on the new business list here, and that's the terminal project public meeting we had set for December the 10th, only to find out that that's the same night as the Falls Chamber of Commerce is having their Christmas event at Leonard's. And I don't know if we want to consider changing that. We want to continue going forward with that December 10th, even though there is a conflict. It's certainly up to the commission to decide that.
Would we have them scheduled at the same time?
Yes, I think theirs starts at 5:30 and we're at 7, I think is what we had said. And so I don't know if we want to consider a change, or if we just want to continue going ahead with ours.
I think it would affect both meetings.
Oh, yes,
Both
yeah,
meetings, so
I know that there's some folks,
and it's going to affect people.
business people that are interested in.
Even people at this table, it's going to affect.
I'd leave that. As far as I'm concerned, we'll leave it at the discretion of the chair. I think you're free to set up a different one.
Well, and the only thing I can see is that, beyond December the 10th, I think it's to be very problematic. I think we could do one in January, but I don't think we could do one later in December. I think that gets to be an issue.
The only one that sets out here would be the 17th, and that's getting close to the travel time.
Yep. I think there'd be a lot of conflicts at that time too. I think, and so I don't know if we would want to look at something in January rather than December. I think that would be fine.
I may be gone.
You may be gone?
I've got to get there sometime.
So are you going to be gone for the whole month of January, or?
Probably be 3 weeks when we go.
Oh, okay.
We haven't set it up yet. We were going to go in December, but there's just so much going.
Okay.
We haven't seen Jennifer.
So Chair, when are we anticipating going to bid?
We would likely have a bid opening, I think, in early February.
Okay, so that still affords.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Commissioner
Advertising early February, bid opening late February.
Okay.
So.
But if we're going to bids, but, you know, if you go to public meeting, the public's gonna wanna know some kind of estimate of dollars, you know.
I mean,
rather
we've
than
got
what
estimates.
We had some estimates, but they probably wanna be a little closer, but.
But I mean, all we're gonna be doing is just sharing detailed information about the terminal project and the funding that has been put together for that.
It's intended as an update for where we're at.
That's all that it would be, is an update, because we're still looking at 2 phases. We're looking at phase 2 being certainly subject to having some bonding money or discretionary monies, and we won't know that until after the legislative session is complete. And so, there's still questions out there about exactly what we're going to do, but we can certainly give an update to the public. But I guess, probably as more time goes along, we have more information. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna have final numbers by then.
No.
We can almost do that in the paper.
Yeah.
With paper article.
We could, yeah. But that's up to the commission. If you want to have a public meeting, I'm certainly prepared to help lead one.
Like I say, it's totally up to you folks, but there's no way I can guarantee January. We just haven't set the dates, but we're definitely. But I don't need to be here either.
Well, it's helpful to have the commissioners here for that, because and certainly as you have those kind of discussions, other discussions come in. I mean, I think the 2 top economic development projects that we have going right now are the sewer expansion and then the airport terminal. Both of those have key economic effects to this community and this county.
But I kind of agree with Brian too. I mean, maybe if it's going to get that late, maybe we should do it just as an article.
Well, we can certainly take a look at that. I mean, we can look at doing it in January, just putting together a news release. But
again,
people don't have an
totally
opportunity to question and make a comment. I think, just trying to look ahead, I mean, our last Wednesday in January is the 27th. I wonder if we did it in conjunction with that meeting. Maybe that way, if Bob or someone wants to come up for the meeting here, they could just stay over.
I'm not going to the public without Benita, let me tell you right now.
So
We'll be here.
So maybe
They
we
won't
gotta
yell at
tie the
her.
two of them. We can have our meeting in the morning, and then that evening we could have have a public meeting. Does that seem like something that would work?
Or just run the meeting right into the public.
And we could do that too. We could.
Have the.
I'm just thinking of folks that want to come in that may be working from business and that.
Well, I'm saying we have maybe move our airport meeting.
We can move the airport meeting too if we want to do that.
Yeah.
You want to have it like a 4:00 meeting and then have a
4 to 6.
4 to 6.
4 to 6, and then have a
Public.
27th of January?
January 27th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would probably work best for me.
Okay.
4 o'clock, 4 p.m.
So
meeting.
4 o'clock is the commission meeting,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Okay, now how much window time do you want there between? You want?
I think then we would have a 6:30 public meeting on terminal building.
And you'd want the commission meeting wrapped up at 6, and then you'd start the public meetings, we can prep the room.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we will motion to
I would move.
motion by Commissioner McBride to have the terminal project public meeting held on January 27 at 6:30 p.m.
Support.
Second by Commissioner Nevenin. Discussion.
What location here?
Yes, location at the county boardroom. No further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried, and that would be the new date for the public meeting on the terminal.
Sean, if you're weathered in, get them on a bus there and get them up there.
Oh, they're gonna be here.
All right, further on engineering or terminal or anything else that we want to bring up in that area? If not, we'll move to the next item under new business, and that is the skid steer update. And do we have copies of that in our packet here? Okay. Not sure where this went sideways on us, but we had been talking about this for 3 years, purchasing the skid steer, and thought we had an understanding with MnDOT in a cost sharing. They have come back to say now that they don't have monies for that, and that we are on our own for that project. And so I guess I'm trying to remember the exact cost. It was $90,000? $90,300. So that is going to be an all local cost, and I don't know. Haven't had a chance to, having been gone for the past week, I haven't had a chance to sit down with Kyra to figure out where we are financially, but on what our local spending has been and where we're going to be here in the next year. But we may have some local monies as we finish the year, but I don't know that we know if there's any local monies left, or if we have expended all of our local dollars.
In the budget that I have, we budgeted 19,000 for the skid steer to begin with.
Yep.
$19,072 for the skid steer. That would have been our local share to begin with, and then we've also got about 10,000 left over from our capital improvements. So I think there's some movement, or there's going to be some funding left, so it won't cost us the full 90,000, because obviously there's some flexibility.
So we're probably going to be about a deficit of about
60 grand,
50 to 60,000, yeah, somewhere in there. Okay.
I can only tell you, I mean, we've set our budget, so it'd be very difficult to go back and try to add each. I guess my question is, Thor, how critical is it? Do we need to purchase it?
We purchased it. That was the problem. We purchased it. I think
There goes our credit.
we made a motion in July to move forward with it. We had held off because we were told to hold off because there was going to be new environmental regulations as part of the skid steer. We wanted to purchase the model prior to 2015, and we weren't. That wasn't going to be eligible.
Of course, we did make that motion,
Yes.
I don't, we go through so much, but based on cost share, there being a cost share obligation.
Yes.
Now we don't have that, so as far as I'm concerned, unless it's been delivered.
It's been delivered and used. They used it.
Oh, no, you're having more problems here, Thor.
They used it to clear all the trees
We
at the end of the
did,
runway.
we used it a lot.
No, I'm really running out of options.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair, it's been on our CIP for some time, right?
Yes, it's been 3 years that we've been seeking this, and it's unfortunate that MnDOT has come back and said.
Fix this, Brian.
We've tried, and I can kind of tell you a little bit of background
Please.
about how this all came to be. In any other year, this would not have been an issue. The problem is, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, but the problem is the state has been kicking in 5% on all the federal projects. So what's happening is they're running out of money. They are flat broke. So they're not getting to equipment. They have a priority list where they start out at, if you rank at 100, you're talking about safety improvement projects, runway rehab, stuff like that, all the way down to way at the bottom in a revenue producing project like a fueling system or a hangar. And I think the number, Sean, is they ran out of money when they got to 70, which means they're not getting to snow removal equipment for airports that need snow removal equipment. They're not getting to mowers to help airports there. They're not getting to any of that stuff because they're kicking in the 5% for all the 90-10 projects over the last 3 years now. And that's where you guys got caught, is they never got to a skid steer. They never got to the funding where they could afford that. And I think that's kind of what Jenny Bonneman, who heads up these type of grants at MnDOT, is saying, is we they don't have any money. And it's unfortunate, and they do, from our standpoint, they need to reevaluate. I mean, I think the extra 5% is a great thing to do, but not at the expense of not being able to fund the basic things that an airport needs to run their airport.
Well,
Mr. Pavitt.
if I could, maybe, no one knows better than we do because we deal with this all the time, but it puts the elected officials in a bad position when we're expecting that money to be there. We make the purchase based on those expectations. Turns out if the money's not there, we're the ones that look bad because now we have to go back and look for more dollars. So I know I can only speak for myself in the future. Without the money being fully guaranteed, I'm not about to start making purchases, not knowing if we're going to get reimbursed or not. And, in this case, since we've already got it and Thor has used it, I don't see where we have a lot of choice here. But and I appreciate you guys see what's happening down there. I appreciate that. But I think it's fair warning for us. I mean, we can't do business as usual anymore.
I agree, totally, because I was gonna ask the question, how do we prevent this from happening again? And really, the only way of preventing it is not taking the skid steer until we got the money in hand that we can pay for it.
Our grant approvals are good, 100%.
And I mentioned earlier about the audit. One of the other things that came out of the audit, MnDOT has a history of reimbursing after you already do the purchase. And now they've discovered that that's not allowable under state statute. So to your point, Commissioner Briggs, they will not give you money if you purchase it before you have a grant in place. So that definitely has to be the new way of doing business, to make sure that you have a signed grant agreement and then move forward with what you want to do. And it applies to equipment, it applies to a construction project, anything. So it's definitely a change compared to how things used to be.
So you'll tell Teresa for us? Brian, I don't dare. We'll have to figure something out.
Well, I think, first of all, before we jump to any conclusions, let's figure out where we are financially at the end of the year, and we can see what kind of, if we have a deficit, what that is.
Has it been paid for?
Yes, yep.
Approved it
We
last
have
month.
paid the
Yes.
$90,000.
Yep. In fact, skid steer sent a thank you.
That was real nice of you.
Can we get back and cheese with it? Take that home, Fred.
Oh, it's terrible.
Do we get to put it in the parade on
Yeah, should be able to, yeah.
That's cute.
So more to come on that at this point. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that one.
I'm glad you got it.
All right. With that, further from our engineers?
No, nothing from us, John.
Okay. We'll move to the manager's report.
Thank you.
No way to defend.
Here we go. Sean was too kind in his description in the 139 inspection. Both Sean and me were very helpful in that process. As time goes on, as you said about the reception, as Wade said about the reception of these people, and they like to they're in control, they're in charge, and you make sure that you let them know that you know that they're in charge, and it went well. So it worked out very well. Thank you.
Well, that makes us eligible for our $1 million every year.
Absolutely,
Under the
and that's
AIP
exactly how I look at it. It's you got to keep the lights on.
Yes.
Guy, you go, well, look at you. You're a terrible man, Brian. Here we go. Reiterating what I mentioned about the fire truck, I'll play phone tag with the gentleman from Oshkosh today. We'll see where we're at on the index A requirements. On a interesting level, since Paris, and obviously with everyone on a higher alert, been having a lot of meetings and discussions, both in person and on the phone with TSA management out of Minneapolis. Pretty interesting. I mean, it's just it's whether it's Minneapolis or National Falls, everybody's spooling it up, and it is the way it is, unfortunately, and it's just interesting. It's fascinating what's going on in the world right now, and see if hopefully it'll improve. Had been discussions. Paul's aware of this with a large helicopter manufacturer. I chatted with them again just yesterday. We're in the running for about a 30-day test with them. They're narrowing it down to northern Canada or Alaska. Looks like we're in the running, relatively short test phase, like 21 to 30 days, 30 people. So for economics, it's great for the local community. They want to come here in the worst way, but they're looking for some real cold temperatures, guaranteed 20 below for X amount of days. And we've had experience with Exact Management before, and they want to come here, so I'll keep everyone informed, and we'll make them fit. On a local level, with a trickle-down effect of New Gold, neat story. On Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning, we had a global challenger charter from Toronto, Ontario, that came to International Falls with 14 execs from New Gold. They can't operate that aircraft in and out of Fort Francis. And so thankfully they came here, cleared customs, catering, fuel, etc. Local bus service got a nice little ride out of a nice contract out of the deal for the day. Picked them up at the airport. They departed about 2:30 later on in the day, and so very, very nice people. I had a chance to talk with the upper echelon there. They're very optimistic on the project. It looks good. They're forging ahead. Of course, they don't have near the environmental restraints that we have here in the United States, and for mining and watershed, what have you, and it's obviously very helpful to them for the project. So very, very happy to see that is going.
Did you take them up to the site?
Nope. Okay. No, just they had the local project manager. The local project manager was there meeting the aircraft, and we had a very good rapport with customs. So we had him standing literally door side when the door opened up. And customs knew that they were coming.
They're going to Carolina. They're not too far from our farm there, Lake of the Woods, and they've been down there for recently.
Yeah.
A lot of activity.
Lots of activity.
So Grant Goddard, he was the one that came and met them?
Exactly, yes. And then the gentleman who used to be the president of Rainy River Gold, who is now a VP with New Gold, I can't think of his name. Nice gentleman, very nice. The weather has been spectacular for snow removal, can't complain, remarkable. Just kind of a sidebar story, we're talking about rain and global warming and what have you. Last weekend, the Little Fork River, interestingly enough, on a data level, that was the highest it crested in 94 years. That was 11 feet above flood line. And normally it's 600 cubic feet per second at Little Fork, and it went to 4,400 cubic feet a second during the apex of that rise. And I've not checked it, I haven't looked at the computer, and I haven't been on the property, but it's very interesting for this time of year. That's a record, and that's incredible.
We had
That's spring level.
over 2 inches of rain.
Yes.
In the area.
In the basin, yeah, absolutely. So very interesting. We'll the weather pattern. So other than that, again, very happy we're through the 139 inspection, and glad it went well. And once again, Sean and Benita were very helpful.
Sun Country, you had that plane in on a Saturday. Back in on a Thursday.
That makes sense. They came in at 9 o'clock.
Took people on Saturday, came in Wednesday night.
There you go.
116 people.
Yeah.
Was it full?
Yeah, it's full, because they drop off from here, it's still half full, and it leaves here to go to Minneapolis. Minneapolis, their first on, last on. So. We had a lot of bags.
Other than that, if we get into December with this amount of snow removal, zero complaints. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but it's still surprising the size of that snow pile up there.
Yeah, and that's where I haven't checked the exact stats, so we have to be down 60-70% of our normals for the time of year. So yeah, right there, your observations right on.
Sun Country, what's their destination?
Laughlin.
And then continuing to work with Sean Jermolis out of Hibbing, we're trying to get Sun Country flights to Biloxi, Mississippi, and I can't say the French name. I think it's Beaurevoir or something is the name of the casino there, but the casino is still a little skeptical about doing these, and we're trying to give them the information that has been going on with Laughlin, and trying to get a second set of these flights going to Mississippi. And so continue to try to convince them that there's people that want to go there. So, and I've just kind of talked in general terms with folks in the community, and there seems to be a lot of interest, but we don't have it in hard copy, and that's what they're looking for. So we may end up having to do some type of a survey and have people sign their name that they would be interested in going to this casino in Biloxi.
That goes to the issue of the public doesn't understand these.
That's right.
It's in plain, that's what keeps us going.
Yes.
It's great.
Please.
Just while we're kind of on that same subject, we had a meeting last night. Our manager was in town, and we brought up the old $99 fare. You know, because if you look at the employments, in a $99 fare, they could fill that plane up because they used to, and it would be cheaper. People would rather fly, and it'd still be cheaper than paying for the gas. So we've got our manager hopefully taking that forward.
To Delta?
To
Or
see if they
to,
can, to their marketing people and saying, come on, you know, that plane going out here 7, 8 people when it's got room for 50. Why not come up with a fare that makes it worthwhile that you fill that plane up?
Thank goodness, the last time we had $99 fares, the county required employees to fly to meetings in the cities because the time that was saved and salary costs, and they could still rent a car and pools, and we were saving a lot.
And a lot of these meetings are one-day meetings, and you can go down and back the same day.
Get rid of the hotel costs. I mean, it was. We laid it out. Terry was the treasurer, but the accountant back then. They laid out the cost savings. It was amazing. So you're absolutely right.
And if I may add to what you're saying, to remind the group, the casinos subsidize the trips heavily, and,
Yes.
and so they're concerned about the returns. But
That's
I
awesome.
think historically, I think it works out very well for them.
I think the next one is scheduled for February, early February. It'll be the third one this season.
Okay, further questions for the airport manager?
If I could, a lot of Canadian passengers.
It's surprising even the number of people from the range that come
Okay.
up. West Virginia, New York.
All right, thank you, Thor.
Thank you.
Go to the Secretary's report. Kyra.
Employments in the packets, they're a little lower than last year at this time. Then it'll start to ramp up here. There's an updated grant tracking sheet in your packets, and that just shows the 2 credit apps that were submitted to in regards to the pavement rehab and whatnot. And then the M&O there, that's still in blue, that's the one we're still waiting on, we haven't received that grant yet. I've been working with TSA, trying to get these past payments caught up. And we've gone through 2 lease amendments. And yesterday I'd emailed weekly, every other week, and no response. Finally, someone got back to me yesterday, and she questioned the lease amendment not being returned back. And I said, well, I received an executed copy of the lease amendment on Monday, and so I wasn't sure what the issue was. And so she looked at it further, and there was another amendment that needed to be done. And I said, well, I sent that one back on October 8th, it was sent back. So she apologized, and she said she'd get it taken care of. Well, it wasn't, then an hour later, and she sent me the executed copy of that. So that is done, that is all good. So I asked her then when we could expect the payments to be brought current and monthly payments to begin again. And she said their budget is committee is reviewing it, and she said she hopes to have an answer within a week or two. So, you know, just the timeline of this is, the first time I sent that, the executed copy that I received on Monday, I sent that back to them on August 20th. So it's just, you know, it's timing. I can do all I want on my end, but for them to get back on us is, you know, it's on them. So, but anyways, hopefully we'll have that. And I don't want to, the amount that is owed is a significant amount, which, you know, in terms of the amount with the skidster, that could compensate for that, the rest of that portion that we're.
We just have to see how it works.
Yeah, because the last time I had checked, it was $47,000 that they owed us. They haven't made a payment since 2013. So.
And they print money. That made it cheaper.
Unbelievable.
So it's, you know, the process is getting there. So hopefully by the end of the year, I'm hopeful that we can start seeing at least our monthly payments. It might not be the amount that's owed back to us, but at least hopefully we can get something.
We're not charging them interest on it.
So that's that. And then we have received a check from the county in regards to that deficit amount. And then the request for the city portion has been sent to the city, so they will be issuing theirs. In talking with Betty, we'd like to have it paid, both of them paid at the same time. So the city's check will go in and the county check will go in and cash at the same time. And then we will reissue that check back to the city on December 7th, which is the next city council meeting. And so that just keeps it clean. It's in, it's right back out, and it's all done, taken care of before the end of the year. So I don't know if the commission wants to make a motion to do all that in the same day, because it would be before our next meeting that we would have to pay back the city, and just authorize that that payment be sent back right away.
I don't remember anything about paying that. I'll move.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Pavlik that having received the county's portion and upon receipt of the city's portion, that the airport commission would issue a check to reimburse the city for the deficit that the airport is experiencing.
Tell Ken Merry Christmas.
Second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Nevenen. Discussion on the motion with regard to the deficit. All those in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion is carried. The check can be issued upon receipt from the city.
Thank you. Next, there is in your packet some information, the analytics from Fort Francis Times again. And then our contract with them is nearing its end at the end of the year. And so just wanting to see if the commission is wanting to move forward with that. I'll have to get that going within the next couple of weeks if we want to renew that contract for our ad banner on Fort Francis.
And now we just got the new contract or the new grant from the state on marketing that would have started July the 1st. And so we would have sufficient funds.
It is included in the budget.
That would be for our fiscal year is January 2016, but the state's starts in July. Right? These things get so muddled, and then the federal government starts in October. I mean, gets to be trying to figure out where we're at. But so I guess the question is, do we want to continue with the advertising on the Fort Francis webpage, Fort Francis Times webpage? Any questions or thoughts with regard to that?
I just have one question,
Please.
Mr. Chair, if I could. That's why I asked Brian about what he's seeing in terms of our neighbors using Sun Country. I know we're advertising our flights and stuff, but how about Sun Country? Is that something we do put out there?
No, we never know when it's going to be, and I guess Sun Country has got their own mailing list or email list
They do.
that they're sending out. And it
And then
seems,
they throw it into the paper.
I mean, if
maybe a
we were,
month before.
and maybe we got to make a effort to contact Sun Country and say, you know, we'd like to let folks know that this flight is available. So maybe we can make a call to Sun Country on that one.
I mean, we want to keep those flights full and
Kyra and I will
hopefully
get
increase
together
them.
and do that. We'll make a call to Sun Country and see if we can help to advertise when that is. Or at least let folks know. I'm not sure how we do that.
They're keeping those flights full without the advertising,
Right.
so.
A lot of repeat customers.
Do you think they would expand this?
Yes.
I mean, we'd have to show them we can open. Yeah, interesting.
But they're at the mercy of the
Casino.
Yeah, sure.
They're the one that essentially books for Sun Country.
Yes.
Because I called the casino regarding golf junket, and they said, we don't do golf junket. I said, would you be, we don't do golf junket. Gambling junket, we're a casino.
Yeah, because you people don't
Because the
spend
golfers
money.
go to casinos, they play golf.
Yeah, yeah, you don't spend money in casino golf.
116 bags, there was only 2 sets of golf balls.
Oh, really?
Well, they probably do it in slow times. I mean, I'm just thinking November, that's, you know, you're in between the snowbirds who head south after Christmas and the summer people from California are coming.
And the weather can get pretty iffy in Laughlin in November. You know, it's in the 50s.
I talked to one of the golfers, he said it was pretty cool when they were out.
Okay.
So for Kyra, no, the Sun Country, or not Sun Country, the Fort Francis Times was in our budget?
Yes,
for
it is.
the advertising budget?
Yep.
I think it's worthwhile to retain that.
Keep our neighbors in Fort Francis informed of what's happening.
Absolutely.
Okay, motion by Commissioner McBride to continue the contract with the Fort Francis Times webpage.
As long as the grant is there.
Yes, yeah, we've got the grant.
We've got the grant.
We've got the grant monies.
Wait till you get it in hand.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Briggs. Discussion on the motion or the advertising with Fort Francis Times. All those in favor of the motion to continue that contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Contract will be continued. Thank you.
And lastly, I was contacted again from Roseanne at Fort Francis Times, and she was noting they're putting together their 2016 vacation guide, and that it's a map that goes to Northwestern Ontario. They distribute 40,000 copies to all throughout Ontario, parts of Manitoba, Alberta, and some points in the U.S. She said the cost is in Canadian funds, but it's a wide range with that 40,000 copies being sent out, and just wanted to know if that would be something we would be interested in advertising in as well. In addition.
Have we been in that before?
We have not.
We have not.
This
been.
this one would be new to us.
I don't know if that's a good, I really have no feel for 40,000 copies, if that's sufficient to, I think the coverage sounds good, but 40,000 copies doesn't sound like an awful lot to cover an area that goes into Manitoba and northwestern Ontario.
White Otter Castle up there.
Yeah, you look at the distribution list on that ad form, it's a real wide geography. Chicago, Port Shills, Thunder Bay, Winnipeg.
And what is the cost of that? So we would need to put together an ad?
Yes, and I think the best size to do would be the triple, which would be $750. And that would be
That'd be
2 1/4
this
by
size
3.
right here.
Yes, yep, just a little touch smaller.
Well, as Commissioner Nevin points out, goes everywhere from, I guess, even put a couple in Thunder Bay. Is am I reading that right? They take some of them to the Chicago Sports Show and the All Canada Sports Shows in 3 places. I guess for $750, it's worth probably taking a chance.
It's 500 and some US.
Yeah.
So it's not. I'm always interested in if there's any Air Falls in Red Lake and
You see that? Do you see your
Yeah,
falls there?
Red-
Dryden, Devlin, Barwick,
Kenora.
Emo. Where is Hearst?
No, Hearst must be east, out east of Thunder Bay. It's not out west.
Where's Pearl Falls?
That's up by your falls.
Yeah.
And there would be a little bit of tax on that.
Oh, yeah.
upwards, too.
So Lookout and Sioux Narrows, I mean, they both come here.
Yep.
I agree, I think.
Worth it.
It's in the
Give it.
budget, yeah.
Okay. We've got monies in the budget to do it, so we've got the grant. So if there's a motion to place an ad in that vacation planner. Motion by Commissioner Pavlik to place a airport ad in the vacation planner of the Fort Francis Times. Second by Commissioner Briggs. Further discussions or questions? All those in favor of the motion to place that ad signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried and the ad will be placed. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Kyra. Go to reports from members. Commissioner Pavlik.
Oh, I saw in the paper that our former airport secretary passed away.
Good point.
And I just wonder,
Susan.
yeah, I wonder if as an airport commission, we shouldn't send a card to no one in the
Okay, that will be done. Send a card to the family for loss of Susan Baratano.
Sure, could send it on behalf of the board.
Yep.
Other than that, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
It's been
Thank
another
you.
year. Enjoy working with you guys.
Likewise. Thank you. Commissioner McBride?
Kyra, the Northland Investigative Protective Service, that $4,400, that's a monthly charge. That's $53,000 a year, and that continues to burn.
And we get no reimbursement on that.
Zero reimbursement on that.
Because of the
Arrest.
ability to arrest. And I know you talked to the sheriff and others about that.
And it just gets to be a real nightmare because of seniority lists, union issues, insurance. I mean, if we were gonna do something, either the city or the county would have to take the contract and go with it. But I don't think, as airport commission, we're interested in doing that at this moment. But still, I mean, there's $53,000 a year that's not coming back to us.
Or at least some portion. I don't know what the match is on that TSA.
Yeah, I don't know if we're not getting anything back from TSA.
No, we're not getting anything back on that part. We get money for the rent.
Right.
But we don't get anything for the reimbursement of the
Northland
security that we provide.
And it is required.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even our nice little airport, I wouldn't want to fly out here without security.
As soon as Donald Trump rips the heads off all these terrorists like he said he's gonna do, we won't have to worry.
So anyway, I just like to keep that in front of the
Yep,
commission
that's
and that,
good.
you know,
Good point well made.
that's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Briggs?
As I mentioned earlier, we had our airport meeting last night, and we had some discussion about snow removal and things. And I hate to see Thor's head swell a little bit more, but our manager wanted it known, for Thor to know that his folks do an outstanding job for us at DGS on snow removal and everything else so far as taking care of us, and how much he appreciates it and wants him to know that. So,
Oh, good God, thank you.
Takes an awful lot to close this airport and now
That's very, very kind.
Your guys do a great job.
Just it's the team,
It
not
has-
just the.
You know, she compares it to Hibbing and some of the other airports that she works with. And says that the service we get from Inerson is heads above anyone else.
We're better than
As far as all around.
That's awfully kind, but I guarantee you, it's the team, it's not me, it's just another ordinance.
Gotta have a good team. Continue to put that good team together. It works very well for us.
Thank you, it's too kind.
Buy him a cup of coffee.
Exactly. Thank you, it's very kind.
Get invited to the Christmas party.
Yeah, we should have the Christmas parties.
We gotta take back all the
Further-
bad things we said
that's
about
great.
Thor.
Thank you for that great compliment to Mandy. Thank you. Commissioner Evans?
I would just, real interested to see if that helicopter
Yeah.
testing comes, would be always interesting to have those folks on
Very
the ground.
interesting.
And I relayed this at the KEDA meeting, that we had JLR staff here to inspect the facilities here, and they again reminded me without the airport, they would not be here, and it's the ability really to connect us globally, because we had folks from the UK, France, Italy, Germany here as a result of the activity. It's a lot of local folks still, I fully appreciate the scope of what that airport
Made a
is.
living on one of those helicopters, and so did our veteran service officer up there. Interesting.
We've been trying to get them for a long time.
Long time, absolutely.
It's great.
Further, Commissioner Evans?
Just happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you. All right, we need to, I brought up the points that I had with regard to Bemidji looking for additional monies and the situation with NMB, which I will get that information to them today. So we need to set the meeting for December, which is always, we set the one for January, but now we need to set the one for December. And please.
Could I ask a question before? You mentioned that you had a chance to have breakfast with Senja.
Senator, yep.
How did that come about?
Well, my wife being at the St. Mary's Hospital in Rochester, I was having breakfast alone in the Hilton Garden Inn in Rochester, and Senator Senjum came in and he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing here?" And so I told him, and he said, "Well, there's a group of us that get together in a conference room here every Saturday morning." He said, "You're invited to join us." And so I went in, and it was interesting. The father of Greg Williams, who has the Camp Idlewood here, he was there. He was the superintendent, retired superintendent of schools, and so he had an International Falls connection. And then also there was Joe Weiss, who's a very large contractor in Rochester, Weiss Construction. And Joe and I had served together on the Minnesota Chamber Board. The sheriff was there. There was probably about 15 people, and it was just kind of a free-for-all discussion. But I sat next to the senator, and so we had discussions about the airport project. So it was just he invited me to join him, so I went in and did that. So
Hold on.
interesting. So back to the next meeting in December. We want to try to do it before the holiday. That would be the Wednesday, the 23rd would be the 4th Wednesday of the month. That's getting close to the 24th. That's the 23rd, unless you want to try to do it earlier.
23rd is fine for me.
23rd is fine for me. Fine for me.
How does that look? I don't know if we're going to have it. Are we going to have anything from engineering for that meeting? I mean, I really don't know.
I guess we'd probably just have the terminal update like we do, but there might not be anything else.
There might not be anything else, and so maybe just do it by phone.
Sure, we can call in for that one. Okay.
Okay. So we'll schedule that for 8 o'clock on December the 23rd. Everyone should have their shopping done by then.
Just start.
Oh, you're just starting, okay.
What do you get in your wine? We'll pop the secret here.
Thank you.
Get the last of the blue light specials.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. All right. So 8 o'clock is on December 23rd is the next Airport Commission meeting. Anything further to come before the commission this morning?
Kyra's doing a great job for us.
Yes, thank you, Kyra.
Adult supervision, that's what we need.
nothing further to come before the commission, I would adjourn the meeting. Did you have something that you wanted, Laura? you wanted to bring? Okay. Nothing else, we'll stand adjourned until December the 23rd. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.